now we have the empirical data. And, you know, I don't think anyone's going to dispute the facts. And when you talk about reaching a solution to a problem, you have to start with the facts. And you have to have common facts that we all can agree on. And part of what we were trying to do, and the main thing we were trying to do, is start a discussion in this state based on empirical data about how we deal with this cancer that is eating at our neighborhoods, particularly in our urban areas. Which brings me to the next series of charts. Let me start over. Okay. It's gone. I'll hold it. Okay. Let me go over here. Let's do this one first. 4 counties comprise 56% of violent felony convictions in that period of time. Again, not a shock to anyone who deals with law enforcement about where this comes from. Cuyahoga, Summit, Franklin, and Hamilton. This chart takes the 12 top counties that are 83% of violent felonies. So if we look at dealing with the problem, it's just our urban areas. Should not be a shock to anyone. Pretty much what we'd expect, but that's what the data shows. Let me now introduce Senator Jim Hughes, who's going to talk about some legislation that he is introducing that is based on this data, based on the recommendations of our working group, and that we believe targets this small number of individuals in our society who are tearing apart our communities. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Good morning. First of all, this legislation is designed to go after the worst of the worst. Those that are preying upon our families, our children, our women, and our seniors. But you probably are asking yourself, what specifically is this going to do? Specifically, what this is going to do is there's 2 main components in this bill. And this bill is going to be introducing this coming Friday. And the first component consists of what is called the Armed Violent Career Criminal Designation. I think these charts over here will help designate. Currently, right now, you have somebody's charged. You have 1 felony, you have 2, you have gun possession, you have 1 for 5 years. Over here, under this VCA, you're going to have 1, 2, the gun possession, same as over here. We're going to have a mandatory of 11 years for this. The other component of the legislation deals with gun specifications. Because you'll hear very shortly from the prosecutor, and as the Attorney General mentioned, these crimes are happening with guns. So in gun specs, now we have 1 to 7 years, depending upon how the prosecutor charges an individual. Under what we're doing now under this legislation, we're going to make it from 2 to 14 years. This is designed to get at the root of the problem, that the information by the doctor we had in terms of the study. And at this point in time, I want to introduce our county prosecutor, Ron O'Brien.
Let me just say something about Ron for a moment. Ron has been, I asked Ron to be here because Ron has really been at the forefront in the state of trying to target this particular problem. A few years ago, he set up a specific unit in his office to go after individuals who use a gun in the commission of a felony. It has been a very successful program, and it's something that I know Ron cares very, very passionately about. Ron, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Attorney General DeWine. We started that gun unit about 4 or 5 years ago. We have now 4 full-time people in the gun unit. They focus on the weapon under disability charge, which under Ohio law is a 3rd-degree felony and carries the 1 to 5 years that was referred to earlier. We have been successful with that effort, successful in getting many of those people. I think the last figures I saw was about 1/3 of the people charged with having a weapon under disability end up with a prison sentence. about 95+% are convicted. People in that unit handle the case from the beginning to the end to provide what we call vertical prosecution. By focusing on those kind of cases, our problem, as the large counties illustrate, are the intersection of guns and gangs and drugs. They're all very closely related. The person that commits the violent crime may not get caught, but if they get caught with a gun and have the kind of record that's shown up here, it allows the enhancements with either gun specs or with mandatory minimums to disable that group. I think the most telling information up here, and it is intuitive, but those of you in the media and those of you in the legislature, those in DRC, ask the question, why should we put these people in prison for a long time? And I think the answer to that is those less than 1% of the people are committing 57% of our violent crimes. If you put that 1% in prison, what are you going to do to your violent crimes, the crimes that threaten the families that the Attorney General mentioned, and threatens each of the urban neighborhoods that it deals with? So I told the Attorney General, and our first assistant in our criminal division, Doug Stead, was on the working group. They have met for over a year, and they tried to focus on the gun specifications themselves and a mandatory sentence for a violent career criminal. The federal gun laws have a violent career criminal charge, and we referred 25 cases last year here in Franklin County, along with the police department, to the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Columbus. What this is designed to do is somewhat replicate that Armed Career Criminal Act and provide the same kind of penalties. They have a mandatory minimum of 15 years. This is proposed to be 11 years. I fully support it, and I can say, as the president of the Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association, we voted, I think last year even, when the bill was still in the works. It's been a while coming, but I think the statistics and empirical data support it. We voted last year to support it and look forward to the process where it could be enacted into law.